Hi there, folks. Simon here. Welcome back to the 2024 January Beginner TAC Tournament. This is the semifinals, and it's the first semifinals match we're going to see, and it is between Spawnoza and Evoshen. And I believe Evoshen has been in a number of beginner tournaments, even played in some intermediate opens as well. Spawnoza, I believe, fairly new to this. And here they go, right on with that adjacent corner setup and going right into that knight's opening for Spawnoza. And this is a two-game match played on the 6x6 board, as you can see, played with a 15-minute timer and a 10-second increment. And we're not playing with any Komi, and if you don't know what Komi is, don't worry about it. Seeing an interesting little play here off to the side, not going for anything central. Black just really placing something right in the middle of that right away, not bothering with anything farther out. It's a good way to stop that knight's opening. However, it does make it hard to kind of build your own stuff. All right, white now going across for that horizontal line. Black building down. A capstone here at e3 from either player would be pretty solid. That would be a great spot for it. Instead, we're seeing white play off at c4. Now that capstone's looking even better now at e3. All right, and we see that e6 drop instead. I don't know, I feel like that, man, that e3 capstone spot is just really, really nice. Or even somebody putting a flat there. Either player, better for black, obviously, here. But it's in a pretty good spot. Goes for the flat instead, not going to drop that capstone yet. We are move 6, so it's getting farther along into the game. Now a capstone probably going to drop from white here at e3. Exactly what we expected to take over that stack. This is why I was saying that a capstone before there for black would have been really great, because that capture could have been made without letting white get that capstone into place and without letting white get that strong stack, because now that's going to be a problem. As I was saying, this is the semifinals, meaning that whoever wins in this two-game match will move on to the finals of this tournament. White playing down at d3. This is to sort of cut black off from... Ooh, interesting. White probably going to play up at d5 now. I believe d3 was to sort of cut black away from that f3 flat. No, instead going to be playing again at c3. Interesting. Black can go for the horizontal up above. Doesn't really have anything below that at the moment. There's no real hope for a vertical threat here. Basically, black is quite a bit behind here. Both of these players were right on the cusp of not being able to qualify for this beginner tournament. Qualification meaning, of course, that they were almost too good to join the tournament. And we're seeing it now that they are in the semifinals. Actually, I believe several people from the quarterfinals were right on the cusp. I think we had 3 or 4 people who were right there on that limit. Black now playing down at f2 doesn't really do anything for him. Again, there really isn't any hope for a vertical threat here for black. Very, very easily shut down. And so seeing white go for this vertical here makes a lot of sense. Could even see white play at d6 to make that threat in the horizontal direction again. If white plays at d6 here, that can be seen as a bit of a protective move to kind of be able to come down onto d5 later. But in reality, it is a attack threat, being able to come up with the capstone spread here and here to go for that. White instead plays below, making the vertical threat. This is where we expect sort of probably a b5 right, or actually a d5 left here is probably more likely because that capstone is there guarding that d5 spot. But gonna have to do something to stop this this threat. They could play down below at d1 with just a flat or a wall or something like that. Could come over with the wall. Instead decides to come over with the capstone, interestingly enough. Now white may decide to fill in here at d4. That wouldn't be a bad choice. Yep, goes for it exactly. This is where they can still go for that horizontal and still go for the vertical using that d4 spot. Got a great setup here with that capstone. White is firmly in command of this game. It has been for quite a while. I think basically ever since that capstone dropped in the position that it was in, able to come up onto that stack, it has been white in control the whole time. Black needs to do something here. It's hard to say what will work in this situation because it is so difficult. Coming over with a wall, yeah, that's a pretty solid move. Very defensive, but it cuts off exactly what you need to cut off here for white. So white may decide to fill in at e3. I can see that working. I could see a c2. Yeah, c2 might work. I'm also looking at the possibility of this capstone eventually coming up that whole stack, so 3e4 plus onto e5. Now, it doesn't look great, but you'd be able to take that capstone stack and spread it to the left, dropping a black on d5, a white on c5, and then the capstone stack onto b5 to complete that connection there from c6 basically to b4. And if you are going for that vertical threat, going with a b3 first and then c2, d1, something like that, you can go for that vertical line. Black playing down at f1, going for this vertical threat yet again, but there really isn't any substance to that threat. You got white's capstone there, you got a number of white's flats there, all able to cut that off. I think black is just kind of at a loss of what to do here in order to change the momentum of this game. And I agree with him if that's the case. It is really tough to figure out what you can do in this position to take back this game because white is so firmly ahead here. White's got positioning, got the flat count, got momentum, got it all right now. Now, here's a sort of a last-ditch effort for a attack threat for black, I guess. Now, the response here is going to be interesting. Will he move that f6 flat down? Will he come over with the capstone? The capstone was the obvious move. Now he's got an opportunity to get that f5 stack. Yeah, black just playing down at e1. Knows needs to shift gears. Knows needs to should protect against any sort of vertical that's going on, I guess. I'm really surprised he didn't go for an e5, but maybe the thought was you don't want to get that recaptured by the capstone. Here's attack threat from white. Playing at b3 would be a road, connecting all the way from f4 to a4, snaking around this wall and capstone. Black comes up with that flat, decides, I don't want that to happen. I can see white playing down at e1 here, maybe playing at d1, and just continuing along this line. Maybe playing at b3. Any of those work. Does go for the e1 play. e1 is dropped. Black, again, that e5 flat placement isn't bad. You know you'll likely get that f5 captured. Oh, black coming up, making a nice juicy stack. Now black is going to play at e5 and make their attack threat. Playing at e5 is attack threat because black can throw this to the right onto e4 and make that connection. May have been waiting to do that, see if maybe white misses the threat. I don't think Spawnoza will miss the threat here. Spawnoza wants to make a play at b3 to make the tag threat for himself, but first would have to do something about this vertical line. And I'm not sure what that's going to be. He could come down with the capstone here to block it. But if he does that, black's probably going to come up with his capstone, since it will no longer be pinned, and he'll be making that horizontal threat. Black making some clever plays here. He knows he can get away with bringing this big stack up because he's got the wall next to it that it can protect that. I like this play. This is a good play. But we'll have to see how it works out. Both players playing fairly quickly. Spawnoza just down to 11 minutes now. Evoshen just barely below 13. Again, they do have 10 seconds that they get every turn. But this is looking like white's still got a shot here. Okay, or black still got a shot, rather. White comes over with f6 onto e6. Black can renew with an f6 flat or a d6 flat. Or you can make a new threat by playing at b6. Does renew with the d6 flat. Now, white could self-capture with their own capstone. That would threaten the stack on e3. Doesn't do that. Instead opts for that capture. Black can now play at b6, for a new threat, f6 to continue the old threat, but f6 invites white's capstone to come up onto f5 to stop it, and doesn't want to do that. Interesting play at c6. This is no longer a attack threat. This gives momentum back to white. Playing at b6 or a5 would have worked, but this one now white is making the attack threat, able to come down with that capstone, spread it down onto either f2 or f1. Black misses it. What was black's move? I didn't even see it. Oh, played up at b6. Yep, and white spread down for the win and the road. Congratulations to Spawnoza for winning game 1 of this semifinals beginner tag tournament match. Now, that is just game 1. There are 2 games to be played in this match. So we could see Evoshen come back and win as white in game 2, which would put them into a blitz tiebreaker. And so they would basically need to play just 2 game matches until somebody wins both games in a match in blitz time. So that is all for today. Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out the description below for all things TAC, especially the TAC Discord server, which is the community hub and where you can find all sorts of TAC resources like strategy guides and people to play with, whether that be right here on playtac.com or asynchronously right there in the Discord server itself. You can find tons of people to play with, chat with, one of us maybe, or one of these players. You can find tons of people on there, tons of things to do. So be sure to check that out. And until next time, have a great day and happy tacking.